Chapter 2, General Ideas. When ideas which have governed the world during long periods lose, in consequence of the necessary transformation of society, their force and their empire, new ideas, destined to replace those which preceded arise, although they bear within themselves a reorganizing germ, they proceed nevertheless by means of disorganization. But so great is the presumption of newborn ideas, and so agreeable to our ephemeral existence is the idea of duration, that as they pluck the stones from the old edifice and build upon the fallen mass anew, they proclaim the ruins to be a new and indestructible foundation until successive falls and successive burials of that which preceded teach them that they have torn down and not built up, that their work requires more solid materials in order to be safe from the crash of the crumbling past. It is thus that the ideas of 1789, ideas which, after having overturned Europe, will end by securing its repose, appeared already in 1791. To have destroyed the old and to have created the new order of things. But the birth of liberty is slow and painful, and the work of ages cannot be destroyed without tremendous shocks. 1793 followed hard upon 1791, and the world witnessed ruin after ruin, transformation after transformation, until at length Napoleon appeared, cleared up the chaos of nothingness and of glory, separated truths from passions, the elements of success from the seeds of death, and reduced to synthesis all those great principles which, contending together, unceasingly compromised the cause in which all were interested. Napoleon, arriving upon the stage of the world, saw that he was to play the part of being the testamentary executor of the revolution. The destructive conflagration of contending parties was extinct, and when the revolution, dying but not vanquished, bequeathed to Napoleon the duty of accomplishing her last wishes, she said to him, "Secure upon solid foundations the principal results of my efforts. Reunite the French, now divided. Repulse feudal Europe, now in league against me. Heal my wounds, spread light among the nations. Complete broadly what I have commenced deeply. Be for Europe what I have been for France. And even though you may be called upon to water the tree of civilization with your blood, to see your plans misunderstood and rejected, and those who are dear to you condemned to wander in exile over the earth, never abandon the sacred cause of France, but make it triumph by all the means which genius invents and humanity approves." This great mission Napoleon accomplished to the very end. The task was difficult. It was necessary to found upon new principles a society still boiling with hatred and rancor, and to make use for consolidation the same instruments which until then had only served to demolish. The common lot of every new risen truth is to alarm rather than to persuade, to wound rather than to convince. This is because it projects itself with greater force as it has been longer restrained, because having obstacles to overcome, it must contend and overthrow until understood and adopted by the general mass, it becomes the basis of a new social order. Liberty and the Christian religion will follow the same path. Christianity, armed with death against the old Roman form of society, excited for a long time the fear and hatred of nations. Then, in virtue of martyrdoms and persecution, the religion of Christ penetrated into the depths of minds and of consciences. Soon she had at her control armies and kings. Constantine and Charlemagne conducted her in triumph through Europe. Then religion laid aside her weapons of war, unveiled to all eyes her principles of order and peace, and became the organizing element of society and the support of power. Thus will it be with liberty. Already has she passed through some of the same phases. In 1793 she affrighted people as well as sovereigns. Then, having assumed more gentle forms, she insinuated herself everywhere, following our battalions. In 1815, all parties adopted her colors, and supporting themselves upon her moral force, covered themselves with her flag. The adoption was not sincere, and liberty was obliged to resume her weapons of war. Fears were renewed with the conquest. Let us hope that they will soon cease, and that liberty will again put on her festal robes, never to quit them more. The Emperor Napoleon has contributed more than any other person to hasten the reign of liberty by preserving the moral influence of the revolution and diminishing the fears which it inspired. Without the consulate and the empire, the revolution would have been merely a great drama, leaving grand recollections, but few practical results. The revolution would have been drowned in the counter-revolution, but the contrary took place because Napoleon planted deep in France and introduced everywhere in Europe the principal benefits resulting from the grand crisis of 1789, and because, to use his language, he purified the revolution, seated firmly kings, and ennobled the people. He purified the revolution by separating the truths which it caused to triumph from the passions which, in their delirium, had obscured them. He seated firmly kings by rendering royal power respectable and honorable. He ennobled the people by giving them a consciousness of their strength and those institutions which elevate man in his own respect. The emperor should be regarded as the messiah of new ideas, for in moments which immediately follow a social disillusion, the essential thing is not to put into application principles and all the subtlety of the theory, but to seize the regenerating spirit, to identify oneself with the sentiments of the people and guide them boldly towards the end which they desire to reach. To be capable of accomplishing such a task, it is necessary that your fiber should respond to that of the people, that you feel as the people feel, and that your interests be so intermingled that you must conquer or fall together.